Hey guys, Brent here, Avenue Fitness in Houston, Texas, and today we're continuing the talk on 30-minute training. As I asked last time around here, if you've been paying attention, what if this was all the time that you had to make that connection with your clients, to create that experience? Would you deliver enough value in that 30 minutes that they return and reinvest again in your service? Would you deliver enough value that they simply come back and invite their friends to come in and to train with them? So I get a lot of times these questions here of people saying, hey, why do you believe in it so much? Like, what is it about this 30-minute session that you believe so much? And so I went to my team and I said, hey, how do you get better at believing into this 30-minute session? And their answers might surprise you a little bit. I don't want this coming just directly from me. I asked my team and I said, hey, why do you believe in it so much? And so when we look at these things here, I've kind of listed them out and the most, I think, common response into it all. And we looked at it, we said, hey, you know what? We get a chance to work with more guys. Obviously, personal training world, we get to see more females than actually men coming in here. But I think when we reduce the amount of time that men have to step up and accept help, because again, it is asking for help when they come to a trainer. There's a lot of guys that are not willing to give up their time, especially 60 minutes of it all, to another person, to another coach, to someone truly trying to invest into their life. So there's that chance you get to increase more guys coming into your facility. Here at Avenue, we are at about 50-50 here from between the males and the females walking in our door. It's 30 minutes to be on with your clients. Sometimes 60 minutes or 45 minutes starts to draw things out a little bit and you're starting to wind down a little bit, but you think about it, you only have 30 minutes to be on here, and it could not be, I think, more exciting to know that, man, half the time I just have to be on, then I can take a little recovery. I can be on and take a little recovery. It's almost like interval style training here. You get to be focused and to the point. There's not a lot of times, I know some of you still kind of go into the 5 minutes on the treadmill, and then once you finish your session, you might kind of delay things. You look at the clock and you're like, man, she paid for the hour, and I know she's gonna get kind of moody if I don't give her the full time, or he always likes to do stretching at the very end, and so I need to cut it short here so I can have 10 minutes to fill at the end of the time. There's none of that stuff. It's 30 minutes. You get in, you get straight to the point, and you stay on task for that full time. And then the last thing here on this one, it's that client independence. It actually teaching your client to be independent more. It's focusing them to say, hey, you do have to make sure that you're eating well. You do have to make sure that you're sleeping well. You do have to make sure that on your off days that you are getting more workouts. So you're getting in here for your off day routine, your conditioning program, whatever it is that you want to set them up on. But there is more of this independence from the client to the trainer versus you've been working with someone for so long, they become so dependent on you, they can't think of the next step to do without you beside them. No, now you get that chance to be a true coach, and you get that chance to say, hey, here you go, here's some things that I want you to do. We got to make sure we're using our time wisely. Now on the flip side, I don't want to talk about the pros without the cons here on all this, but when we look at the cons, yeah, it is a little hard sometimes to build relationships with someone in that 30 minutes, but that's where you as the coach, as the leader, have to be very direct and very purposeful with your questions that you're asking throughout the conversations. They can't be kind of checking out the TV, whipping the phone out and maybe look at the phone, or it could be just kind of gazing off into Never Never Land because you're just like, you know what, I'm in a little bit of a daze, or I didn't sleep too well last night, things are bad, whatever. You got to start looking at things and go, are you truly listening to your clients? Can you create that engagement? And especially if a client brings a friend in for a new session, is like, how do you start to create that relationship within you and that new client, but yet also as well as you and the other person, or maybe the other group of people that might be in there with you. Limited time for a question and answer. Sometimes people at the end of a session, you might use the last 5-10 minutes to kind of sit around and talk about things, recap nutrition, recap goals. There is a little bit of a limited time for that here. Obviously, you got to figure out ways you can work that into your session, but then also too as well, it becomes a little bit more communication outside of the session with emails, maybe text messages, maybe phone calls or something along the way. Proper warm-up and cool down. Hey, you know what? We all see these warm-ups and cool downs. They should be lasting 15 to 20 minutes, but we're not working with professional athletes. If you are, obviously this may be not the right model for you, but for the most of us that are working with the general population, we don't get this ideal time of, oh, we can invest 10 to 15 minutes to get her properly warmed up or get him to work everything out. We've got to become creative. And if you kind of seen my program design video on the 30-minute session, you start to see how we've worked it into the session. We don't necessarily spend all the time up front 100% doing all the proper warm-up stuff. We do enough to get moving, and then we add things in as we're moving throughout the session for what we call our active recoveries here in this one. And then the last thing here of teaching new moves. Sometimes people come in, they want to master a certain thing. They want to start to work on their swing techniques. They want to start working on kettlebells, the swings, deadlifts, Turkish get-ups, whatever it is for you, snatches, cleans, whatever you want to teach. So sometimes when it comes down to teaching new moves, we have to either take a back seat to it or learn to teach in a different manner. So sometimes how can you teach progressions and how can you work through things in a different manner? Because we don't have the full hour. Maybe we can spend 10 minutes of teaching something. We're not really doing too much from a working standpoint. We're just doing more of the focus on the teaching aspect of things. So I just want to kind of run through those things with you a little bit to say, hey, those are the big things. Those are the pros and the cons. But the best way to filter through everything when it comes down to actually believing in this 30-minute session, you have to ask this question: what do I want to go big on? When you ask that question, what do I want to go big on, most of us in the training world is, man, we want to impact as many people as we possibly can. And that's kind of that future dream, whether you have a training facility like myself, or whether you might be working inside of a space, maybe you're working on a dream to open up your own facility. All of us have this big dream to create as much impact, to create as much influence, to spread our reach as far as possible. But what happens is when we start to bog ourselves down with these hour-long sessions, we don't necessarily get to go big on what it is that we want to do, reaching more lives. And even if sometimes as you raise yourself up and you're like, hey, I'm going to build a team underneath me, what if you could build a team underneath you that's going big on helping as many people as they possibly can 30 minutes at a time? So I challenge you to keep writing and working through all this, to say, hey, what do I want to go big on? And then you start to look at this and I think just to picture and dream a little bit, and maybe even start to journal things and go, what if I added that 30-minute session to things? What would it do for my business? I know for me, when I did it, it added a lot of clarity to things, and it started to help me to reduce the amount of, I think, time I wasted throughout my day within my session. It simplified things when it came to my sessions. I didn't have to start thinking about how many different ways I could spin off a dynamic warm-up and how many different ways I could spin through a session, because I'm working with the everyday person. I'm not working with finely tuned professional athletes here. Again, I'm working with the general population. And the last thing, it kind of helped me when the clarity aspect, when I knew what I wanted to go big on, it helped me with my focus and saying, hey, you know what? This is exactly what I'm trying to do. This is the one problem that I'm trying to solve. And then when you get these three things in alignment here, this is the cool thing about it, is people begin to trust you more. They begin to come back to your business and they repeat performance. They're reinvesting in your services, and they get these referrals, what I like to call these invites. You always invite a friend over to the house to a dinner or something along those lines. You don't refer them over, but when we start to redefine kind of our referral process, when people begin to trust us more, they begin to reinvest in us and they begin to invite their friends. The sky is the limit. So I want to focus on that. I want you to focus on that as you walk away from here, is how can you get clarity from asking that question, what do I want to go big on? And how can 30-minute sessions start to fit into that model? It's not going to happen overnight. It might take you a year, it might take you 2 years like it did with us. But I want you to start to challenge that question and say, why should I believe in the 30-minute sessions, and how will that possibly help me start to impact more people on a day-to-day basis? So if you have any questions, you can check me out here at avenuefitness.com. You can reach out through me through emails there, Brent at avenuefit.com. I'd love to help you out and kind of begin that process, help you begin walking through what it takes to start believing in the 30-minute sessions.